Let's say you bring together hundreds of deaf children raised in isolated rural communities without any exposure to signed language. How do you think they would communicate with each other? Well, we actually have an answer, and it's even more interesting than you might expect. Hello, my name is Christopher and welcome to Ling, Linguistics for the layperson. Yesterday, we discussed the critical period hypothesis, which refers to the proposed window of time during childhood to acquire language. Here's part of what I said about it. And if the child is for some reason not exposed to sufficient language input during this time, he or she will never adopt normal language skills, as evidenced by the tragic cases of feral children like Genie Wiley, which I'm sure I'll dedicate an entire video to. Well, here's that video. Except you may already be familiar with Genie. TLC made a popular documentary about her story in 2003. So today we'll also cover two other case studies concerning deaf and neglected children to examine how they fit within the CPH. The first and most infamous example is certainly Genie Wiley, who was found in 1970 in Los Angeles at age 13. She had been horrifically abused since being a toddler, isolated in a dark room and beaten by her father for making noise. When finally discovered, she could speak only a few words, weighed just 59 pounds, and moved with a sort of disturbing bunny hop. Although Genie's vocabulary grew and she began putting words together and memorizing phrases, her speech remained stuck at that stage, unable to ever develop normal syntax or grammar. The next case is that of Isabel, who was discovered in 1937 at the age of 6.5. Her mother was deaf-mute, and the grandfather kept the two isolated in a dark room like Genie, forbidden from ever leaving the house alone. Eventually, the mother managed to escape and brought Isabel to authorities. Although malnourished and rachitic, her language development was rapid. Within just 2 years' time, Isabel's intelligence and language use were normal for her age. So, one girl, Genie, was discovered at the very end of the hypothesized critical period and never acquired language. By comparison, the other girl, Isabel, was half Genie's age, meaning well within the critical period, and did develop normal speech function. This would seem to offer strong evidence for the theory. However, these cases are not without their flaws. For one thing, they are very rare, thank goodness, so the sample size is small. But also, Genie was beaten for speaking and thus probably traumatized to learn, and there's evidence she suffered from a form of mental retardation as well. Moreover, Isabel did communicate with her mother through simple signing before she learned to speak. So, perhaps without this, Isabel would have fared like Genie. Or, perhaps without the direct abuse, Genie would have fared like Isabel. We'll never know for sure. The third case is a bit different, concerning the innateness of language and the theory of universal grammar proposed by Noam Chomsky. You see, after Nicaragua's civil war in the 1970s, the government founded a school for the deaf, marking the first time a large number of deaf people could come together in the country's history. Most children and adults had a rudimentary form of sign language called home signing from their own communities, but they lacked grammar and were not mutually intelligible. These were normal, socialized children in every sense except one. They had no exposure to language. So, what happened? Well, it's remarkable. The children combined their home signs to create their own grammatically simplified language, a pidgin, to communicate with each other. But here's the most interesting part. As these children grew up and younger deaf children were exposed to the pidgin, They adopted it completely without any instruction and transformed the simplified signing into a complete language, now the ISN, equipped with complex grammar rules and all. This might suggest that there really is such a thing as human innateness for language. After all, from where else could those deaf children have picked up grammar? This instance also supports the CPH because the older children and adults never fully acquired the language, continuing to sign in the original pidgin while only younger children adopted the full grammar. And so, through these 3 case studies, the critical period hypothesis has been tested. How well it performed, however, is still an open question. Personally, it makes a lot of sense to me that we lose something after childhood as neuroplasticity wanes, but I can't possibly know the extent to which that's true. Hopefully, we won't have any more tragic examples to conduct further research, as interesting as the subject might be. Alright, that's all for today. I'd like to make at least one more video about the CPH, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and let me know in the comment section what you think about these cases. What do they reveal to you? As always, my sources are in the description, and with that, thank you so much for watching.